Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Tracy. I'm going to read to you the story today called Spaghetti with Yeti. I really like this book. A boy called George had an excellent plan to go and discover the Yeti. He put in his backpack a warm woolly hat and a map and a tin of spaghetti. Spaghetti. Slowly, George climbed up a steep mountain path in search of the mystical beast, when he stumbled straight into a monster who was eating a scrumptious feast. "Hooray!" shouted George. "I knew you could be here. I'm sure that you must be the Yeti." The monster stood up with a furious gage. They were mad. And do you know what happened? Let's see. Look at that. Look what they found over here. Do you see that monster? Let's see. "Are you crazy? My name is Betty." Look at Betty the monster. She looks kind of scary, huh? "So sorry, Betty," said George with a smile, "but I'm talking the Yeti some lunch. In that case, you'll want to take some of those bones for the Yeti, and he likes food with a crunch." Oh, look it. She gave him some bones to take to the Yeti. She said that's what he must like to eat. So that's what George took. He had his spaghetti in his tin and the bones. So George climbed up the steep mountain path to track down the hideaway brute, when he stumbled upon a big monster with a face like a battered old boot. "Yippee!" shouted George. "I've tracked you down now. I've been searching so long for the Yeti." The monster glared down with the angriest growl as he growled. Oh, let's find out what happens. "How insulting! My name is Hetty." Not Yeti, but Hetty. Oh, look at her with her purple hair. These monsters kind of scare me. Let's see. "So sorry, Hetty," said George with a sigh, "but I'm taking the Yeti a treat. In that case, you'll want to take one of those goats. The Yeti likes food with a bleat." Wonder if the Yeti likes to eat goats. George says he already has a treat for him. Spaghetti. So George trudged on up the steep mountain path, dragging the goat by her tail, when he spotted a shape in the distance and heard the most bone-chilling wail. "Hurrah!" shouted George. "At last it is you! I've been looking so hard for the Yeti." The monster looked down with a horrible howl. Who was it? Do you think it was the Yeti? Or do you think it was another monster? That monster up here on the top of this hill? He is what? I wonder who it is. Oh, he had a horrible howl. "Are you bonkers? My name is Natty, not Yeti." Oh, and look at her. She's crazy. She's green. Big old green monster. So sorry, Nettie, signed George, feeling glum, but I am taking the Yeti a snack. In that case, you're going to want to take lobsters and crabs, for the Yeti likes food he can crack. So look at that monster gives George lobsters and crabs. I wonder if the Yeti likes to eat lobsters and crabs. So George plodded on the steep mountain path. The difficult climb made him buff. Exhausted, he threw himself down on the ground. "That's it," he cried. "I've had enough." As George sat disappointed, his head and his hands on his head, a shadow fell over that place. He felt something hairy and poked him from the back. And he turned and he looked. He peered with his eyes. As he sat there, something kept poking him. What do you think it was? I would be scared if someone was poking me in the back. Oh, this is a scary part. It was a face. It looked like the Yeti. Look at his big nose, his big eyes, He is a big Yeti. Well, do you know he wasn't so scary? And do you know what he told George? He said, "I found you," cried George with a big, happy grin. He showed all his gifts to the Yeti. But the monster looked down at the crab and the goat and said, "Sorry, I just eat spaghetti." He did not want the crab or the goat. He did not want lobsters. And he did not want to eat bones. So do you know what happened next? That little boy, George. "I knew it," said George with a whoop of delight, and he opened the battered old tin. Then he tipped the spaghetti out into a bowl, and he fed it to the Yeti. And George and the Yeti, tucked in, started slurping the spaghetti. Is that funny? There they are eating it. The end. So if you like this book, it is George Amazing Adventures with Spaghetti with the Yeti.